This guy got butthurt and then resigned and said, I can't support this anymore.
But I can still sit as a conservative, right, guys?
Yeah, right. And then got kicked from the party.
Yep.
And then because he got kicked from the party, he's like, I'm going to start my own party. Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Move over, Bernier. There's a new political party in town. They were recently featured in a National Post article titled, Canadian Future, a Party for Losers. And we're here to tell you all about it.
Before we get to that, help us keep this channel growing strong by hitting that like button to help push this out to more viewers, and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of our next episode. If you would like to support the channel, check out the description of this video for more details. Now let's get into it. There's a new political party on the scene, Canadian Future. Rest assured, this tiny group of disgruntled politicals has no political future in Canada. Canadian Future is the brainchild of Centre-Ice Canadians, formerly known as Centre-Ice Conservatives. It was founded in April of 2022 when it became clear that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre had a huge lead in the Conservative leadership race. They preposterously claimed the party was moving too far to the right and desired a supposedly more moderate political alternative. Erin O'Toole ringing a bell for anyone? Centre-Ice held a small conference last year to discuss issues affecting Conservatives and Canadians. There were some good people who lent their support in different ways, including former BC Liberal Premier Christy Clark, former Conservative Minister Peter Kent, and National Post columnist Natasha Karadan. They list 5 principles on their website: democracy, patriotism, freedom and responsibility, good government, and Canadian exceptionalism. That wouldn't cause many objections. Quote, "We are builders, not wreckers," quote, they claim. Quote, "We want to reform and strengthen our institutions, not tear them down. We prefer pragmatic solutions to counter extremism from the right and from the left," end quote. But the overall picture is quite different. Canadian Future / Centre-Ice is filled with mostly ex-conservatives who are angry and frustrated with their political lot in life. Their conservative leadership candidates of choice, including Quebec Liberal Premier Jean Charest and former Ontario PC leader Patrick Brown, either got beaten or dropped out. Poilievre won on the first ballot with 68.15%, while Charest finished a distant second with 16.07%.
This small faction could have done what other supporters of failed leadership candidates have done historically. That is, dusted themselves off and helped defeat the federal government, which in this case is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. Instead, they took their bats and balls with them in a huff and decided to create a different playing field like spoiled children. That's exactly what Maxime Bernier did when he lost the 2017 Conservative leadership race to Andrew Scheer. He quit in frustration and started the People's Party of Canada in September 2018. They still haven't won a seat in 2 federal elections. Canadian Future is looking at a very similar fate. It's also important to point out that Canadian Future isn't a conservative with a capital C or conservative with a lowercase c party in any way, shape, or form, even though in its Centre-Ice incarnation, it has some nominally conservative ideas. There's already a Conservative Party that's been leading in most opinion polls by a significant margin for months and is solidly behind its leader, Poilievre. They're supported by right-wing leaning blue Tories and left-leaning red Tories and quite a few non-conservative Canadians. Bernier and the PPC serve as a political alternative for a smaller number of right-leaning Canadians. How does Canadian Future expect to take away conservative votes exactly? That's just it. They can't.
Canadian Conservatives have also spent far too many years in the political wilderness to be fooled by pretenders to the throne. Political divisions between the Reform Party / Canadian Alliance and Old Progressive Conservatives from 1987 to 2003 aided Liberal Prime Ministers Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin and kept them in power. When Canada's 2 right-leaning parties finally merged, many Conservatives swore that these bitter political and personal moments would never be revisited again. This includes several directors for center-right Canadians. Shame on them for doing this. Then again, that's apparently not what they're looking to accomplish. Canadian Future claims to be a radically centrist outfit and not a conservative-type party. This comes from the lips of interim party leader Dominic Carty, a former provincial NDP leader in New Brunswick who resigned in 2017, became a minister in Blaine Higgs' PC government, and currently sits as an independent. He told the Canadian Press on September 20th, quote, "We wanted to have that force in the radical center to be able to push back to some evidence-based policy, evidence-based politics, not rage farming and clickbaiting, which seems to be most of what occupies federal politics these days." End quote. So we did some digging as usual, and we found a lovely little snippet on Wikipedia about Mr. Carty and his quote-unquote resignation from the NDP. Carty resigned as party leader, as well as resigning his membership of both the federal and New Brunswick NDP on January 1st of 2017, complaining of party infighting, which he attributed to destructive forces colluding with CUPE New Brunswick, the province's largest public sector union, against his leadership. So, for those that don't know, before Carty ran as a conservative, he never won. He was an NDP before that, the party leader of the NDP in New Brunswick, but never won. And once he, had a hissy fit that his party basically fired him, not that he resigned, they fired him because they didn't like his leadership. He couldn't even win a seat, so why is he surprised? He decided to flip colors and say, "I'm a conservative, everybody," because the Conservatives kept winning the ballot. So once he was a Conservative, he was in.
In addition to that, we also learned that he was one of the cowardly provincial Conservative ministers in Premier Higgs' government in New Brunswick that resigned after Higgs made his policy change to the school system that eventually fueled the 1 million March for Kids. Carty resigned from his position as Minister of Education and Early Childhood Education on October 13th, 2022. Announcing his resignation on Twitter, of all places, Carty explained that, "At some point, working style and values have to matter." His resignation letter offered a more detailed explanation, citing Premier Higgs' behavior in a series of incidents. Carty initially committed to staying on as a progressive conservative, but was expelled from caucus a day after resigning as minister. He was replaced as minister by Bill Hogan.
Yeah, no kidding. He was expelled from caucus. As soon as Blaine Higgs put in that policy in the schools, you and a bunch of other turncoats flipped on him and stabbed him in the back, where you should have stood by your leader. Like, duh, what did you think was going to happen?
Well, and if what Higgs was doing was so egregious, which all he did at that time was agree to review the policy. Like, no decisions were even made. It was just, okay, a lot of parents are complaining about this policy. Let's have a look at it. And you can go back and watch our videos on that because we do have some from back in the summer. If it was so egregious what Higgs was doing, Carty should have resigned from everything, not just been like, "Oh, well, I'm not minister anymore, but I still want to be your MP." Like, that's really dirty. If you have honor, you completely say, "Okay, what you're doing is so bad, I'm out 100%." Not, "Oh, well, I still want my MLA salary."
Well, and, no wonder this guy was initially an NDP. The whining, the absolute incessant whining from this guy and complaining that life is so hard that he resigns at the drop of a hat. Like, talk about non-committal, and now you're gonna lead this party. Canadian Future. Yeah, the only time it'll hold a seat is right now because you won that seat as a Conservative. You're never winning that seat again. So I hope you're getting used to that.
Continuing on with the article. Well, this changes everything. Radical centrists are more naturally at home with the Liberals, NDP, Greens, and others on the political left. How do they expect to gain support in an even more crowded political field? With ex-conservatives at the helm and policies on trade, democracy, the environment, and healthcare that wouldn't sway many left-leaning Canadians, I have no earthly idea. And this is the author of the article speaking. That's why most on Canada's political right and left won't pay much attention to this radical centrist band of misfit toys. There would have to be a seismic political shift and the disintegration of one or two major parties for them to have an infinitesimal chance of growth and development. They'll likely be in small single digits in popularity, and they won't come close to winning a seat in the next federal election. Heck, they don't even know how to achieve good publicity for themselves. Canadian Future's launch was held on the same day as the nationwide 1 million March for Children and counter-protest about children, schools, and gender ideology. They could have easily waited 24 hours for their oh-so-exciting announcement to be rolled out, which is probably why all of us missed it. Anyway, what a complete waste of time. They're no threat to any major political party. It's a free country, and they can obviously do what they want. Let's wish them all the best in their future endeavors.
And there was much rejoicing.
So I find one of these terms that Cardi used, I'm not even going to point to the National Post because they're just stating what he's stating. Radical centrist, that's like extreme neutrality.
It's like radical vanilla or like radical gray. it's
dumb. It's just a silly way to put it. Like, what are you trying to say here? Well, we're just severely in the center. Like dude.
There's nothing wrong with vanilla ice cream or the color gray or being in the center, but there's nothing radical about it. If you're just using that as a buzzword to try to attract voters, like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you're either on the radical left or the radical right.
Because it's so far away from anything else. Like, it's just so at the polls.
Yeah, this guy doesn't seem to understand that the political spectrum is compared to the number spectrum, where, you start at 0 and you go plus numbers to the right and negative numbers to the left. So you can't be radical 0. There's just so many things wrong with this guy. And the fact that he just whines and complains the whole time. I don't even know how he won the Conservative seat unless it was just on party recognition, which it probably was, because he demonstrated over the course of a couple of elections he couldn't win the seat himself as an NDP. So, this guy, just from an appearance standpoint, you don't put this guy as a party leader. Sorry, but you don't.
Even if it's interim party leader.
Well, and that's another thing. So you just launched it. How do you have an interim party leader if you just launched it? Don't you want a solid choice for who's party leader if you're launching a party? This whole thing is just shambolic, to use a British term.
This is shambolic.
It is just ridiculous. Okay, so we just launched this political party, but I'm the interim leader. Come on. No one's going to take you seriously. I'm surprised he actually got an interview on CPAC. I don't know, maybe CPAC was just having a slow news day, so they're like, wow, this should be fun.
Hey, maybe they'll interview us next. What do you think?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll start the Northern Perspective Party. How about that, everybody?
If you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, here's Hardy appearing on CPAC on September 20th, which was just a few days ago.
Mr. Cardy, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Now, your party has its roots with the centralized Conservatives group, and after last year's leadership race, I take it you had to decide what to do with that energy. But why not apply that energy to having an internal debate with other Conservatives? What is it about the current party that you cannot reconcile with?
Well, first, centralized Conservatives existed for a few weeks, and it then became centralized Canadians, because we heard lots of Liberals, even some New Democrats and Greens, saying that they didn't feel that the current main political parties were reflecting them in any way. And the thought of trying to attract people to go to party conventions or nominating conventions when you've got candidates that are espousing policies that are nostalgic, to be polite about it, in the case of the Liberals, who seem to continue to believe that throwing money at things solves problems without any sort of real plan, as long as it's got a nice comms package to top it off, or the Conservatives, who appear to have just ceded the policy ground to some of the stranger people in the American social media sphere, and who are absolutely attracting lots of people, the same way that Mr. Trump attracts lots of people in the US. Those are not the people we're trying to go for here. We're not interested in talking about the World Economic Forum or whether vaccines are invented by Bill Gates or some of the other strange positions that the Conservative Party has inexplicably decided to adopt.
Well done. Well done. So in your first 3 days as a party leader, you've insulted a lot of the people that you actually are relying on to pull away from the Conservatives in terms of voters. Great job. So you're taking a page out of Trudeau's playbook and essentially saying that all these people that are being attracted to the Conservatives, they're idiots.
Well, I'd rather be an idiot than vote for Canadian Future.
Like the radical zeros. Like it's just like this guy's a train wreck. Like his political career is a train wreck. Couldn't win as NDP, resigned, quote unquote resigned, probably was fired, and then decided to flip, like, and that was radical left, allegedly. Okay, everybody, radical left. Then he flipped spectrums, going from NDP all the way over to the Conservatives, ended up winning, probably on party recognition, ended up becoming a minister, started beating his chest. Higgs made a very smart and patriotic decision to review the school policy in New Brunswick. This guy got butthurt and then resigned and said, I can't support this anymore.
But I can still sit as a Conservative,
Yeah.
right, guys?
Yeah, right. And then got kicked from the
Wrong.
party.
Yep.
And then because he got kicked from the party, he's like, I'm going to start my own party. Like, like this is where we are. So, if you want to vote for Canadian Future, here's your leader, everyone. Be my guest.